everyone. Just as the event, I will be speaking first in Spanish and then in English. Buenas noches a todos y a todas. Voy a hablar primero en español y luego en inglés. Gracias por acompañarnos en la 9ª Cumbre de Liderazgo, ahora en colaboración con Momentum, Central Wyoming College y Teton Leadership Center. Me llamo Lina Collado y soy puertorriqueña y residente en Jackson desde el 2013. Me siento sumamente honrada y profundamente agradecida por servir como presidenta de la Junta Directiva de Momentum. Esta organización me inspira cada día, rodeada de un grupo de mujeres cuyo liderazgo, pasión y valentía hacen que este trabajo sea realmente significativo. Es un privilegio estar aquí hoy en un espacio dedicado a la unidad y al impacto. Una afirmación de que juntos somos más fuertes y que nuestro poder colectivo crece cuando le damos voz a todos, mujeres, hombres, pueblos indígenas, inmigrantes, vecinos y amigos. Me complace presentarles a una líder cuya experiencia y liderazgo nos invita a transformar lo personal en una fuerza colectiva. La senadora Julie Gonzales. Nacida en la reserva de Apache de San Carlos, en Arizona, criada en la frontera de Texas, Julie es la 6ª de 7 hermanos. Su experiencia como mujer mexicana, creciendo en comunidades marcadas por la resiliencia y la conexión, la convirtió en una activista de por vida. Nos recuerda que el progreso duradero se logra cuando enfrentamos los obstáculos y nos unimos para transformarlos. Como senadora del Distrito 34 en Denver, Julie ha impulsado cambios significativos en materia de vivienda de bajo costo, protección de los inmigrantes y reforma judicial. Más allá de su labor en el gobierno, empodera a los estadounidenses de primera y segunda generación para que se postulen a cargos públicos, ganen y lideren el cambio que desean ver. Julie, gracias por abrir caminos, por construir puentes, por recordarnos que cuando ayudamos a uno, nos ayudamos a todos. Thank you for being here at our 9th Leadership Summit, now in partnership with Momentum, Central Wyoming College, and Teton Leadership Center. My name is Lina Collado, and I'm a Puerto Rican resident of Jackson since 2013. I feel incredibly honored and deeply humbled to serve as the board chair of Momentum. This organization continues to inspire me every day, surrounded by a group of women whose leadership, heart, and courage makes this work just truly meaningful. It's a privilege to be here today in a space devoted to unity and impact, an affirmation that we are stronger together, that our collective power grows when we uplift every voice, women and men, indigenous voices, immigrants, neighbors, and friends. It is my pleasure to introduce a leader whose lived experience and leadership invites us to turn the personal into the collective, Senadora Julie Gonzales. Born on the San Carlos Apache reservation in Arizona and raised in Texas borderlands, Julie is the 6th of 7 children. Her experience as a Mexican woman growing up in communities marked by resilience and connection shaped her into a lifelong organizer. She reminds us that lasting progress happens when we face what holds us back and come together to transform it. As Senator for District 34 in Denver, Julie has driven meaningful change in affordable housing, immigrant protections, and justice reform. Beyond her role in government, she empowers first and second generation Americans to run for office, win, and lead the change they seek. Julie, thank you for paving paths, for building bridges, for reminding us that when we lift one, we lift all. Por favor, acompáñeme para dar la bienvenida a la señora Julie Gonzales. Please join me in welcoming Senator Julie Gonzales.
Good evening. how are we? I'm not sure. Let's start over. Good evening, y'all. How are we doing? My name is Julie Gonzales. I am representing the North, West, and downtown Denver in the Colorado State Senate. Today, I would like to talk to you all about how we can move forward in this very complex and difficult political moment. But for me, it's impossible for you all to understand who I am without first sharing where I come from. Allow me to first speak about my mom, Gloria. Gloria was born at home at the family ranch, which has been ours since before Colorado even existed. She grew up there without running water and with an outhouse. She was the eldest of five and the only girl. So Gloria had to drop out of high school. She got married, had two children, and then she was widowed at 20. She realized that to her, education was key in order to have a future. So she got her GED, her diploma, and then she fought to be able to attend college to fulfill her dream of becoming a teacher. She was the rodeo queen, as you can see in this picture. And then in this other one, you see my grandparents and three of my four uncles. My youngest uncle wasn't born yet, my Uncle Matt. But this was the family where they lived in this home without running water and an outhouse. Now, allow me to speak to you about my father, Mario. Mario was born in northeastern New Mexico. And this land was actually my great grandmother's dowry. So, on both sides of my family, we are these, as they're known, old school Chicanos who have been here since before this was the United States. My father served in the Air Force during the Vietnam War, and after he returned, he married his high school sweetheart. They had three children, and then they got divorced. My dad worked in a ranch in Gardner, Colorado, right next to my mom's family ranch. And that's how it got started. The story that we share in our family tells that my mom invited my dad to her graduation party, and the rest is history. They got married that fall, and my father got a new job in Arizona, working for the indigenous tribes in San Carlos, the Apache. They moved. And then I was born in March of 1983. The joke I always tell is that I was made in Colorado, but I was born in Arizona. 2 years later, my baby brother was born, and our 7-kid family comprised of my dad's children, my mother's 2 children, and my brother and I, the 2 of us, our family became complete. In this picture, you see my father with my 3 elder siblings, and in the other picture, he's working with Wilford Stanley, an indigenous Apache worker in that ranch where he worked. Very well. And this is her picture as a teacher working, and then the picture from when they got married. My mother was my teacher, my second grade teacher. This was incredible. Very cool, and will always be one of my most treasured memories of her. However, honestly, it was also a little weird because I would call her mom, right? Because for me, she wasn't Miss Gonzales. She was my mom. But it would also really bug me when other kids in my class would also call her mom. I was like, no. I remember, I remember this one time she had an initiative that she would implement in her class called Drop Everything and Read. 10 minutes at the start of each class every single day. She didn't care if you read the back of a cereal box, comics, a book. All she wanted was for us to read in silence for 10 minutes to get our day started. And as it's obviously shown in this picture, I was a little nerd. I loved books. And I'd entertain myself for hours reading books like Laura Ingalls Wilder or the newspaper or anything else I could get my hands on. That was it. I was hooked. This was the first time I learned that you can do what you can do with what you have. That reading didn't have to be something intellectual, fancy, but in those 10 minutes every day, your life could completely change. However, no matter how much I loved books, and as much as my mom valued education, my dad also wanted me to learn about the real world and the value of hard work. So, my dad would pull me out of school every Friday so that I could go work with him on the ranch. We'd check the cattle, we'd take food and supplies to the cowboys who would stay out in the pastures for days, sometimes even weeks, or we would fix fences. He wanted me to see that we were responsible for the people, the animals, and the property in our care. That if we didn't do the work ourselves, it wouldn't get done. And that, yes, it was difficult, but it was honorable and it was worthwhile. It's a wild thing to consider that my mom went from living in a house with no running water and after dropping out of high school to becoming a teacher, that she became my teacher. and that later she was able to see her daughter get accepted into Yale. A single generation of access to education changed the trajectory of my entire family. It's a testament to her resilience and her determination. I went into college knowing full well that this opportunity wasn't only for me, but also for my parents. A quick word about Yale. When I arrived in August of 2001, the university was celebrating its 300th anniversary. The university was founded in 1701, 75 years before the United States was founded. Y'all, I felt a deep, deep cultural shock. As a girl, I had been taught that the polite thing was to exchange pleasantries and chit chat before getting down to business. But on the East Coast, the polite thing was to not waste anyone's time. Instead, to get to the point as quickly as possible. So I felt hurt. My feelings were hurt often until I realized that this was just a different culture. It took me a long time to realize that it wasn't good or bad. It was just something different that I had to understand and adapt. But the biggest culture shock was seeing university workers risk their jobs in order to fight for change. While I was a student, the workers that did all of the administrative work, those who kept the buildings clean or who cooked our food, they went on strike. I had never really seen a strike before, and it was quite scary. But it also reminded me of the lessons that my dad taught me that work is hard, but it's honorable, it's worthwhile. I was so surprised to see how many people did small things to show their support for these workers. Professors moved their classes off campus, students joined the picket lines, local elected officials urged the university to return to the bargaining table. Community members wore buttons. These workers made the university run. And I love seeing this huge institution, a 300-year-old institution, be unable to function without them. They were needed. They had to work. And they actually had three different strikes. But after the university saw the workers' unity and willingness to keep going, they ultimately won a fair contract. In this picture, I don't know if you can see, but this was civil unrest of 800 people, workers, members of the community, students, professors. It was such a large action that it featured in the New York Times. This was such a huge lesson for me. This campaign taught me so many lessons about of people, the power of people that come together against incredible odds. I've learned that even if you don't have institutional power or money, if you organize sufficient people, if you find unlikely allies, and if you keep trying, you can win incredible and meaningful victories. So I was like, all right, come on, let's go. I kept organizing after college. I organized students who were graduating high school in Denver, and then they would enroll in college, only to be told that they hadn't taken enough classes in order to start the basic level math classes. And because of this, they were going to have to start off by paying for remedial classes, even though they had obtained their high school diploma. So we organized a campaign to ensure that all Denver public school graduates received an education that was preparing them for college. I organized my neighbors who lived in the shadows of an old Gates rubber factory. It's in Denver. And we organized a coalition of 58 groups in order to negotiate with a developer that wanted to develop a new building development. We said, okay, that's fine, but we want to make sure that you clean the grounds underneath this factory because it's probably dirty because of the rubber that they had been fabricating for years. We want you to hire construction workers from within our community, and we want you to build affordable units so that we can continue to afford to live in this area. I organized workers, students, mothers, and business people so that they would share their stories about our broken immigration system and about how the constant fear of living under this broken system is heartbreaking and cruel. Time and time again, we were told, Julie, this is crazy. It's not possible. In this protest of 7,000 people in 2006, we thought that maybe 1,000 people would show up, but 75,000 arrived. But look, I can't say that we won every single thing, that we won at every campaign we launched. There have been a lot of heartbreaks and setbacks mixed in with these victories. But what keeps me going above all else is that nobody will save us except we must save ourselves. I've been organizing for 20 years, both in the community and now in the Colorado State Capitol as a senator at the state level. In the Capitol, all you have is your word and your vote. So, what I tell my colleagues, whether they're Democratic or Republican, Stab me in the front, we're good. But stab me in the back, we've got problems. Meaning, you know, if you attack me from the front, that's fine. But if you're doing it on the back, we're going to have issues. That is to see. That is to mean that I need my colleagues to be honest so that I can count my votes to see that we can pass policy. And if not, that's fine. But if they tell me one thing, but then do another, we're going to have problems because it means that I can't trust in their word. In this political moment where everything feels fraught and divided, you might think that it would be easier to hold back, to bite your tongue, to leave things unsaid. I disagree. I think that now more than ever, it is time for us to lean in, to share what's in our hearts. It's time to be true to our word and our values. I think we have two tasks ahead of us. First, we have to create spaces like this one that we're in today, where we can listen to each other, learn, one from another, and find a way to support each other. Second, we have to have open bridges, build bridges, have open doors, and hold spaces for people who might not agree with us. We have to hold our hands out and be ready for them to be honest and direct with us. And we have to be honest and direct with them as well. This is true no matter where you were born, no matter what language you speak, what your title may be, or the amount of money you may have in your bank account. I always think back to what my parents taught me. My mom's lesson to do what you can with what you've got. And my dad's lesson about the value of hard work. I am here thanks to them. And even though they have both now passed, their lessons live on within me. And now I hope you will also carry them forward. This meeting will be such an incredible experience and opportunity to create incredible connections, maybe new friendships. Enjoy this opportunity fully. Thank you.
Okay, y'all. Siéntanse, por favor. Siéntanse. Tenemos unos minutos para tener una conversación. We have a little bit of time for questions and answers. And so I am going to do this and I'm going to translate for everyone, and so I'd like to see. Yo voy a estar traduciendo sus preguntas y mis respuestas, entonces no sé si ustedes tienen preguntas y podemos conversar. We can talk a little bit.
Oh, I love you, girl. I love you. I love you. All right, so what do you think is the most powerful thing, big or small, that you've done thus far? In anything. Big or small, most powerful.
La pregunta es, ¿qué es la cosa que has hecho que ha sido lo más importante, grande o pequeña? Voy a explicarles qué fue esta foto. I'm going to tell you all what this photo was. Antes de cuando yo entraba como senadora estatal, yo trabajaba como una asistente legal en un bufete de abogados de inmigración y la defensa criminal. So before I was, so I'll translate both, so I'll say both. Before I was in the legislature, I worked as a paralegal in an immigration and criminal defense firm. The guy in the polka-dotted shirt, el hombre en la camiseta blanco y negro, hace como 20 años había tenido un contacto con la policía y hizo todo lo que le pedía la corte. Y pensaba, pues órale, yo completo todo, no tengo nada que preocuparme, yo voy bien. So the guy in the polka-dotted shirt, 20 years beforehand, he had a contact with local law enforcement, and he did everything that the court asked of him to do. And he said, okay, fine, I'll do it, I'm good, I've done everything I've completed my sentence. Y luego, cuando, como 20 años después, con sus hijos, con toda su familia, aplicó él por su residencia permanente. Pero luego esto fue cuando se dio cuenta él de que este contacto le había dado una deportación de por vida. So, 20 years pass, and he's there with his family, and he's ready finally to apply for permanent residency. And it's only in that moment that he learns that he is, based on that prior criminal contact with the justice system, he is actually subject to mandatory deportation, lifetime deportation. And él contrató al abogado donde yo trabajaba, el Meyer Law Office, para representarle en este caso, y llevó su caso hasta la Corte Suprema de Colorado. Y hasta en la Corte Suprema les dijeron, bueno, quisiéramos poderle ayudar, pero no existe una manera para poderle ayudar. He took his case all the way up to the Colorado Supreme Court, and even there the justices said, I would love to be able to help you. There's literally not a legal avenue for us to be able to reopen your case. Cuando yo entré al Senado Estatal, el primer proyecto de ley que inicié fue crear una avenida para ayudar a personas como él. So the first thing I did, the very first bill after I was elected into the state senate, was to create an avenue for people like him, people like José Espino. Y así de esa manera, ahora él no solamente es residente permanente, pero sus hijos ya también han beneficiado de este cambio. So now, not only as a result of that work, he now is a permanent resident, and his kids have also been able to benefit from that change. Para mí ha sido como una manera de decir, a veces, hasta aunque piensas que has hecho todo lo correcto, todo exactamente como pedían las cortes y todo, a veces necesitas ayuda. right? So just the lesson that I've learned has been that, even if you think that you've done absolutely everything right, that you followed all the rules, you did everything that the court asked you, sometimes you still need help. And so being able to do that bill as my very first bill in the legislature, that I would say has been my biggest honor.
Hola. Primero voy a decir en español y también lo puedo decir en inglés. Mi pregunta es cuando tú estabas diciendo al final que una idea era construir puentes y crear espacios para las personas con las que pensamos de manera diferente. Me gustaría saber en ejemplos concretos cómo una mujer como tú, que representa a la minoría, también en un momento donde estamos súper polarizados, donde se siente que las personas de color café o marrón estamos siendo identificadas o atacadas de una manera, no sé, esa es una palabra fuerte, pero quiero saber cómo nosotros como minoría podemos crear un espacio para poder conversar con el otro lado. My question is, she mentioned at the end of the presentation that one of the ideas was to create spaces and build bridges so that we could listen to the other side. And so in this current moment where it is more important than ever because we are super polarized, I am wondering how, as a woman, a brown woman representing minorities, if you could give concrete examples of how to make space to reach the other side, because right now it feels particularly isolating and this is targeting is a strong word, but I think that's what it is that is happening towards brown people. So any help is appreciated.
Girl. Let me just start by saying, I'll tell you a story. We were trying to pass a bill in the legislature that would allow, this is before I was in office, I was an activist, I was an organizer volunteering on this. And we were making phone calls to voters in a particular legislator's district saying, hey, if you support this bill, will you please call your state legislator and let them know? Because that bill would have allowed undocumented high school students to pay in-state tuition and go to Colorado colleges. And entonces, les voy a contar una historia de cuando estaba yo organizando a favor de un proyecto de ley para dejar que los estudiantes que asistían a las universidades que asistían a las escuelas preparatorias en Colorado pudieran asistir y pagar la colegiatura estatal en las universidades de Colorado. Entonces estábamos haciendo llamadas a votantes en el distrito de cierto legislador. So I'm making these calls, and I call this woman, and I'm going to say something that is maybe not okay, but she was like, oh, is this for the little illegal alien kids? Me dice, oh, una señora que llamé, me dice, oh, esto es para los ilegales, los niños ilegales. Y yo, casi era la final de noche, estaba yo cansada, estaba yo como, oh. Do I have this conversation about why using that terminology is not okay? Tengo esa conversación con esa mujer acerca de por qué esto es racista, que esto no está bien, bla, bla, bla. Y le dije, you know what? Yes. Yes, yeah, it is. Whatever. Me dice, she tells me, I love that bill. I support that bill. I think all of the little illegal alien kids should get education. And I'm like, girl, what? Entonces le dije, sí. Y me dice ella, oh, pues sí, yo estoy de acuerdo con que el hecho de que todos estos niños ilegales tengan acceso a la educación. Yo estoy a favor de esto. So then I tell her, okay, will you please call your state legislator? Y le digo, okay, puedes hablar con tu legisladora. Okay, está bien. O sea, nunca sabes dónde puedes crear estas conexiones. Siempre he dicho que un reloj está correcto 2 veces al día. A broken watch is still right twice a day, right? You never know where you might be able to find those connections. Al contrario, right? Y dentro de nuestra comunidad, especialmente en nuestra comunidad latina, a veces pensamos nosotros que todos vamos a estar de acuerdo. ¿Por qué? Porque todos somos latinos, right? And sometimes the other thing is true as well, right? That like, oh, we're all going to agree because we're all Latino. Like, y'all, yo amo a mi esposo, pero él no está correcto 100% de los tiempos, right? Like, I love my husband, but he's not right 100% of the time. We're still working on it. But we have to be able to hear each other so that we can understand why we disagree. Tenemos que poder escuchar uno hacia el otro para poder entender de por qué estamos en desacuerdo, right? Or cómo podemos llegar a un acuerdo. So I hope that's helpful. All right. I think it's time. Thank you all so much. Mil gracias.